is going on, everybody? King of Chaos, Logan Black here, although you're probably checking this out on my personal social media, and welcome once again to another episode of Dude, Have You Heard This? The music show where a bunch of buddies get together and discuss some of their favorite under-the-radar albums. We're glad you're joining us this week. We had a bit of a mishap last week. Some crazy weather was killing a whole lot of energy on the Northeast, but we are back this week and stoked to be with you. As always, I am joined by Scotty and Johnny Torres. Go ahead and say hello, guys.
Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
And joining us this week, my man, one half of the Main State Posse, DangerKid. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm pretty stoked about this. This is a lot different than what I normally get asked to do in the realm of podcast. So I was pretty stoked when you guys asked me to be a part of it and like doing all the research leading up to this conversation we're about to have. It's been pretty rad. I'm super into it.
Yeah, dude, I think this was a research heavy week for everybody. I can speak for me. I know you had said is for you, but I feel like this definitely was a research heavy week. So let's hop into things off the bat. I am going to start with the choice of my bald brother, John Torres. What did you pick this week? And tell us about it. I was so stoked for this one.
Me too, man. The pick this week was "If There Is Light, It Will Find You." Census Fails. Really most recent release, and so I've had a running theme with my picks on this show where it's been a lot of like bands that have been around for 15 plus years, like finally, hitting what I think is a peak. And Census Fail, like this, there was a couple times throughout, because I've been a fan of Census Fail probably since 2006, give or take. They were probably the first band I ever saw live where that really sparked me into going to shows, like pretty much any shows I could find on a weekend basis, like music shows when wrestling wasn't running, you know how it goes. But Census Fail's a unique one in that I thought that they'd like matured and found their most refined sound. I think I called it probably like 3 or 4 times, like, yep, this is the Census Fail, this is the one. But this is the one. This record is Buddy Nielsen at his most like mature and refined as a musician, as a songwriter. It used to be that Census Fail songs, like he'd write about being miserable and you didn't completely have the context. Par for the course of mid-2000s emo bands is they're miserable. I'm not entirely sure about what, but they're not happy about something. But he finally like lays out so much context in this record about just the things that ail him and stuff like that. On top of that, he just makes a whole bunch of amazing commentary just on the state of things. And he almost like, I don't know, it's almost like foreshadowing the present, because you listen to this record now and you're like, this could have come out, a month ago and it would have been appropriate. But front to back, this to me hits double cross, starts hot, ends on a really nice mixture ballad. It's like Census Fail had been listening to a whole bunch of the Wonder Years and figured out that like, okay, so we wrap up albums with this last track like they do, and we're on to something. This was an amazing time for them to really be like trying things and altering a formula that had already worked for them for 15 years. And I say it every show, this is one I can gush about for a long time. And
I think again, it's great for me always to see people be passionate about albums that they love. You mentioned being a fan since like 2006 or so. Because I'm a New York guy and this band is a New Jersey band, they were a local band playing shows over here for their demos. I remember my freshman year of high school, the demo being passed around to people. And like people going, yo, you got to check this band out on MySpace. Census Fail. They're like a band out of Jersey. They're like a Buddy and that crew. They're my age. So like they were high school kids playing, and I was hooked from the demo. Like I was immediately like, this is what I want to hear. I wasn't much of an emo kid at that time, although maybe more closet emo kid. but it was heavy enough that I could rock with it. They had breakdowns early on, so I was like, yeah, it's hardcore enough. But then, it's certainly an emo band. But I want to open it up to you guys. DangerKid, what did you feel about this Census Fail record?
I loved it, honestly. I listened to it a couple times. And honestly, Census Fail is a band for me that I've been listening to for a very long time, but I kind of forgot about them.
Right,
I wasn't even sure if they were still a band. So Johnny picked this record, and I'm looking it up, and I'm seeing it came out in 2018, and I'm like, I honestly didn't even know this existed. So this was really fun for me. Little like Census Fail fun fact, I'm like 95% certain that I lost my virginity to a Census Fail song. So I think that's a thing. I can't confirm or deny that. I couldn't tell you what song, but I'm pretty sure that happened. But Johnny, you said like Double Cross starts this record off hot, and I literally had that written down like exactly. I wrote hot start with Double Cross. So that was honestly my favorite song on the whole record. Like I liked it a lot. Other songs that I really dug, Green Jacket, Gold Jacket, Gold Jacket, Green Jacket.
Yeah, so
Gold Jacket, Green Jacket. Yep.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Either way, a banger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Really felt the lyrics to Gonna Be That Year, like what you were talking about, Johnny. Like it seems like this could have came out a month ago, and the whole record really seemed like quite fitting. I noticed that too. So you hit the nail on the head there. Overall, I'd say very solid pick. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun listening to it, and it's going to be on my playlist going forward for sure.
Fan-flippin-tastic. I couldn't agree with you more on everything that you said. This one really, like, again, when you're like, I thought this band disappeared, I thought they did too. And actually doing my little Wikipedia searches on this band pretty much is Buddy Nielsen at this point. With, a lot of other musicians, a lot of people from other bands who've come in, to take spaces, everybody there. The original band isn't there, which also I think to me is why we talked about the evolution of their sound. It really comes across more because this is a mature band and not a mature band that has been playing together for, however, was it almost 20 years at this point. It's a mature band of musicians who have now conglomerated to create a sound of what is Census Fail today as compared to what, a bunch of kids in a Jersey basement had put together 20 or so years ago. I want to open it up to you, Scotty. What did you think on this one? You're a Jersey guy. You have to be in the same boat as me.
I'm not just a Jersey guy. I'm a Bergen County guy. So these guys were my backyard, Bergen Community College concerts out in the field type shit. And I'm kind of a lapsed fan. I stopped listening after their second record because honestly, I had forgotten about them. After Calling All Cars had come out, I kind of forgot about everything. So I went into this with cautious optimism, knowing that there are several emo bands that I loved when I was in high school who released records in 2018, 2019, 2020 that maybe weren't that great because they were trying to hold on to something that they used to be. This was a really pleasant surprise. A lot of these songs are going to go in a regular rotation, and I really, really like this album.
It's a funny thing, man. One of the guests I really want to get for the show is my brother. He lives on the West Coast. It'll never fucking happen. But him and I grew up like within the scene, going to shows together, and Census Fail for the longest time was his favorite band. And I remember when this album came out, getting a text from him going, "Dude, you need to listen to this. It's really great. It's really great." And I just, all right, maybe. And it's didn't think about it. And now I'm very glad that, again, this show has forced me to sit down and take like a good listen to this record. I also put in my note just in addition, because everything you guys are saying is all up in my notes, but I got some Taking Back Sunday vibes from this, which I think pretty much just comes out of the fact that I think, Buddy is not a kid anymore. His voice has matured, everything is matured, and the sound, they've definitely slowed down a bit from playing like breakdowns. So I definitely got those vibes, but that's by far not a takedown. That is a 2 thumbs up. Really stoked about this one. Yeah, any other questions, comments, concerns, or feelings about if there is a light? If there's a light, it will find you.
I'll tell for anybody at home that doesn't have like the lay of the Census Fail catalog like we all do for the most part. If you just want a quick basis comparison, go listen to You're Cute When You Scream and then go listen to this record. It's like night and day, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the pick of our guest this week. DangerKid picked an album that I have never in my life heard of the album or the band. So lay it on us, man. What was your choice?
The album I picked was What It Takes by the band The Sleeping. They were, I believe, on Victory Records at the time when this album came out. They're not around anymore. I can't remember when they disbanded, but I think they're all doing stuff. Just I really couldn't tell you what. But I really can't even tell you how this came into my life. But I just know that I'm hooked on it. Start to finish, honestly, just super solid. I could listen to it on repeat. It was in my car when I had one for many months at a time. Just didn't even switch it. Didn't need to. Can jam out to any song. Even also the opening track, You'll Be a Corpse Before Your Time. That was music that I came out to as Levi Lexington in IWE at one point in time. So another little fun fact for you. So, and that's quite the way to open the album too, I feel. So I don't know. It's just one that definitely hits home for me. And I feel like none of you guys have listened to this before. I might be wrong. Jake, you said you haven't,
Yeah,
but
definitely never heard of this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was aiming for. I kind of wanted
yeah.
to bring something that was something I can listen to all the way through, and that maybe not a lot of people have ever heard of before, and might really dig, honestly. So that's what I was aiming for, and I think that's what I brought to the table here. So, what do you guys think?
So I want to say off the bat, literally because you brought up the opening track, You'll Be a Corpse Before Your Time. I am listening to this. And I knew it was going to be heavy because, like you said, Victory Records. Like, Victory Records at that point was putting out bangers nonstop. So I listened to it while I was working out. And I'm playing it. And there, you got your heavy stuff. And I'm like, all right, I could jam to this. And then a fucking church organ comes in out of nowhere. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I wrote down the church organ in the opening song, really awesome. But then that organ is there the whole album, and that's their sound. And I was like, man, that is fucking dope. That is something totally different that you just don't. Who thinks of like you're getting like metalcore and fucking baseball game at the same time? That shit was dope. Let me open up to you guys. Scotty, what did you think of this one?
I had actually heard The Sleeping's first record years ago, back when I was in high school, and I remember really enjoying it, but again, never really listened after a certain point because I kind of forgot the band existed. This record is fucking awesome. I went back and listened to just more of The Sleeping as a whole based on just this record alone, because I was like, if this is how they sound at this point, I kind of want to hear the journey myself. That opening song immediately went into like 3 of my everyday playlists, like right off the jump. I was just like, yep, the wake up, the whatever else I need. Really, really good album.
Yeah, there was a lot of different sounds on here that I could really, really get behind. I really liked a lot of like the piano work that they were doing on here too. Like it was just, when it wasn't the organ and you heard the piano in there, really fattened the sound up for like, again, what Victory Records was doing at the time was very much like your run-of-the-mill metalcore. They kind of like had the monopoly on that, so to speak. But this
Agreed.
definitely stands out for me. I really, really enjoyed that. Johnny, what did you think of this record?
I found The Sleeping through Guitar Hero 3, I want to say. Don't Hold Back was in Guitar Hero 3. Went and like immediately got hooked on the track, fun track to play, fun track to listen to. Went out and immediately grabbed the CD it was on, Questions and Answers, another front to back banger. But after that, I pretty much had heard that they'd like broken up and didn't bother like looking further into their catalog. I would just replay questions and answers and cry in the corner about why they weren't a band anymore. But this was like I had a high bar for the Sleeping going in, and this just kind of raised that bar. Everybody's ranted about how good the opener "You'll Be a Corpse Before Your Time" is. I'm gonna pile onto that and wholeheartedly agree. Should have let me leave, and He Only Sees Where He Walks. Just those two were, I don't know if the word's a turning point or a hinge or something like that, but I don't know. Just the mood in the room changed after those two songs. But overall, front to back, nothing really to, well, pun kind of intended now. Nothing really to sleep on here, man. It was just a front to back killer, man, and just gotta pour one out for our fallen homies in the Sleeping. I wish you guys were still a band. Get back together, do a reunion show.
Yeah, so I as I always do with my weird sound comparisons and comparing bands, and everyone's kind of like, what the fuck is Jake saying? So Any One Night Stand was a song that stood out to me because it's a total like change on the record. It's a slower song. It's a bit different. Had this song been done with clean vocals, to me it sounds like what Paramore evolved into, with like their like really super fun, catchy pop songs. Because they're not a pop punk band anymore. They're a pop group. Hayley Williams is like on the level of like, an Ariana Grande. Like she's that level of pops. So I feel like this song, and because if you could break down a song and it's that good with some clean vocals, it really speaks to the songwriting of this band. And like, it's not just about crunchy riffs or like, again, adding that church organ over somebody screaming. These guys could write a song, and I think that was the true litmus test right there. I would love to see that song performed with clean vocals, and that's probably the only time you'll ever hear me saying that ever about anything. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or feelings on What It Takes by The Sleeping? Cool. We are going to move on to my man Scott Ceriti's pick. Again, another band that I personally had never, ever heard of.
Yeah.
Go for it, man.
I went as local as possible. My friend's band, Sexy Heroes in Transit, now known as Sexy Heroes. They did drop the IT from the shit, as I say. I went to high school with the original drummer of this band. This was his last record, and I was a sophomore when this came out. And it was like everything that made me love pop punk. It was juvenile. It was cheesy. It was like really self-aware and really, really funny. So I was really, really hyped to get you guys to listen to this.
This record, I listened to this one a number of times this week. Had this album come out when I was in high school, this would have been my favorite band of all time. Like, yeah, I would have played this record out. I would have bought their shirts. I would have fought people at shows. Like, this would literally have been my favorite band. Like you said, it's everything that I love about pop punk. It's juvenile. It's stupid when it needs to be. It's got its fun love songs, but also doesn't take itself too seriously. And then again, during the research that I the little bit of research that I did, it's like, oh, they're a Jersey band. Scotty probably knows these guys.
Yes, I do. Actually, back to Bamboozle 09 real quick. When I was standing at my friend's merch tent watching all the shows on the main stage, that's where I was. I was at the Sexy Heroes merch tent.
It's so dope. I think we're gonna go back to Bamboozle 09 like every week. There's gonna be something that all draws us in. Let me open it up to Johnny. What did you think about Sexy Heroes in Transit?
Holy shit, man! What a delight! My God, it's so like, and it's pop punk took a turn where it started taking itself too seriously. Like after this time, you know what I mean? Like this was like it's and this sound is starting to come back a little bit with like Masked Intruder, and there's this local band Chousand, and like we're starting to have more fun in pop punk again. But these guys must have felt like fish out of water at the time, because 2007 was like right around when like Sum 41 was putting out like heavy emotional records, and like everybody was, you know, like a little more deep into their emotions. And then you got this, which is just fun, man. The moment Louis G hit, I'm like, dude, this is so far up my alley. It's paying my rent, man. Uh, I put this in, like, I have a fun pop punk playlist that's mostly like Masked Intruder and Chousand and just gimmicky stuff like that. That's just fun, and I just dropped the whole record into the Spotify playlist. Like, yeah. I hope they're still around. I hope they're millionaires, because bless their hearts, every single one of them.
Man. They are still around, not so much on the millionaires part.
Oh,
but...
well, knowing that they're still around, that this is probably a band that once everything comes back to normal, that I'll probably keep my eye on to come see. Because if they're local, why the hell not? Johnny, you hit it on the head. Louis G. I listened to this record during just like a walk, when I just walking around, because I'm just trying to get some steps in, and I didn't know that. Again, it's in my pocket. I don't know the song titles, and then I'm hearing the lyrics, and it's like, if these guys are talking about Super Mario Brothers, I'm gonna fucking lose it. And yeah, it's a whole song about Mario. I love nerdy, inspired, fun music. And this was great. And they've got a music video for this too, because I watched it 4 fucking times this week. It is so much fun. It's like watching fucking Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, but in real life with people, and then a band of pop punkers dancing around and having fun. DangerKid, what did you think of this record?
This record was a lot of fun. Going into it, I had not initially realized the acronym of the band's name. So I kind of went into it. I knew it was local, based on what Scotty had said in our chat and everything. So I went into it pretty blind, other than knowing that. And I'm listening to it, and then I eventually, after like 2 songs, like that's when I realized the acronym, and I'm like, okay, this is what these guys got going on, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. I think you guys both had said it, but it doesn't take itself seriously. And for the time of pop punk, I definitely think that probably separated these guys, even if they are a local band. But it's definitely a good listen. I have not listened to any of their other stuff, but I'm probably going to now. And I definitely, listening to this, I couldn't help but think, and Scotty, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure these guys put on a really, really fun live show. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually watched them play a whole set at my friend's band show that was in his bedroom in North Jersey, and they just took the instruments and just played like a 25-minute set while my friends were like figuring out what to do for the rest of the night. It was awesome.
That's sick.
Oh man, local shows, man. Remember those? Sweet Christmas. Oh, yeah, listen, man, you know me, I love local bands. Like when Johnny pulled that band out a couple weeks back that's local, fuck yeah. You've got this local band that's literally in your backyard. I love that stuff, because I feel like there's so many, music band, just different types of music out there that just stay so regional for whatever reason. It was, I'll nerd out for a moment. It's something that was like super common back in like the 50s and 60s with a lot of bands, where like you'd be like a regional hit. The movie That Thing You Do is literally about that. And like, if you're a punk or you're a hardcore kid and you're in these scenes, this is the stuff that you're seeing. Man, I bring up the band Friendly Fire, which like nobody has heard of. They were a band from the Bronx, and they played the punk rock temple here in Brooklyn all the time. I think they made great music and had a great record. It's on Spotify, but no one has heard of that. And it's one of those things where this is a similar situation, where it's a band that, like, they've had no mainstream success. But this is a fantastic record. Johnny hit it on the head when he said this band deserves all the accolades in the world, because this is a catchy, fun pop punk record. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or feelings about Sexy Heroes in Traffic?
Transit.
Holy moly. All right, cool. Then you know what? Let's move on to my pick. When we talked about research earlier and research heavy week, that was my fault. Sorry, guys. But this record that I chose was a weird compilation record by the name of Roadrunner United. Roadrunner hit their 20-year anniversary as a label and decided instead of doing the box set thing, which I think they also did because Roadrunner wants to make money. What they did was they put together this record of. They picked 5 musicians that were on the label. It was Dino from Fear Factory, Joey Jordison, who was then with Slipknot, Matt Heafy from Trivium, and the guy Rob from Machine Head. It was 4 people. Sorry, to pretty much write an album worth of songs where you'd have like guest vocalists. So you'd be writing a song for the singer from El Nino, and he'd have a song, or like you say Howard Jones, then of Killswitch Engage. You wrote a song, and it was in that band's style, which to me I think speaks volumes of the fact of how good the musicianship and the writing is on this record. Where like, man, Matt from Trivium had to write a song for Michael Graves. Like, he had to write it in that style, or like somebody had to write a song. I think it was what's his face, Rob from Machine Head had to write a song in the style of like Stone Sour / Slipknot for Corey Taylor, which that to me is brilliant stuff. I want to open it up to you guys because I've put you to work this week. I apologize again with checking out that Wikipedia page and everything. Johnny, what did you think of this record?
No apologies necessary for any of that, man. I'm a sucker for fun facts and deep cuts and stuff like that. So I had heard this record right around, it was 2006, because this was prominently featured in our backyard wrestling at the time. Tired and Lonely, somebody used for a theme song. The End was used for a music video. No shortage of Roadrunner United here. But cool thing is the things I appreciated when I first listened to the record then, like, it's changed so much because I haven't revisited this record in 14 years. So, like, the things that I popped for, like, completely changed on this. Like, we went through the Sepultura record a couple weeks ago, so I have this new appreciation for Max Cavalera. And then we come across Independent Voice of the Voiceless, and like, it's that much better this time around, now that I've got that little bit of extra context. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here and say the one thing that they could have done differently is nobody gave Steve DiGiorgio a friggin' bass solo. And they should have let that man tap his bass for 4 minutes. But that's small thing. There was a row of bangers for me starting at Independent pretty much. Let me see here. Independent, banger. Dawn of a Golden Age with Danny Filth, banger. The Rich Man with Corey Taylor, banger. Friggin', and then we get to Rhodes, beautiful. Mikhail. My love-hate for Opeth runs incredibly deep. But my God, they gave Mikhail 2 minutes, and he could have went 12.
He probably would have went 12.
He would have went 12.
Oh man, he's a regular indie guy. Give him 2, go 12. Yeah, man, it's crazy that you say listening to it years later, you appreciate different things. That to me is the way that I think. Like, every time I listen to this record, I appreciate so many different things on the record, and now as a kid I was really into like all the really heavy stuff, and now I think No Way Out with Daryl from Glassjaw is just a well written song. I just like I could sing along to that all the time. That and what's the one, Army of the Sun with the dude from oh my God, Long Island hardcore band. I'm gonna blank on it. This is what happens when you get concussed all the time, kids. Just there are different songs on here that really just stick out to me with every listen as I put it together. DangerKid, what'd you think about this one?
So this is another one that I didn't know about beforehand, honestly. I probably wasn't even listening to metal yet. 2005, I think I was 11 or 12 years old. So I was a little bit of a youngin'. So you sent over the Wikipedia article to this album, and I'm looking at it. I'm reading up on what it is, who's involved, all this stuff about it, and I'm just like, whew, fuck, this is ambitious, but it's an awesome concept. I was on board right away. I think it's super cool. It was a trip, because there is so many people involved, and it just, when you break it down to who is doing what on this album, it just branches off into so many different directions, and it's like really cool. It makes for a really cool listen. I dug the Rich Man and Baptized in Redemption. Those were like my two top picks. But honestly, the whole album was really cool. And my I had two thoughts, actually. One was like how the royalties broke down for this, because I feel like a lot of people worked on this. And then also, I just want to see like an updated version, not updated, but like another like modern day version. I think Roadrunner should do something like that. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
The first thing I'll say is ambitious is like the perfect word to describe it. Again, like words fail me all the time, but it's just insanely ambitious if you really think about it, getting all these people together to put it together. And then you talk about the updated. So this is now my fun fact, and I guess my inside scoop. I worked for Roadrunner at the time. I was an intern over there just before this album had come out, and then when it did come out, they did this big, just this like big performance thing at it was the Nokia Theater then. I think it's the PlayStation Theater now. It's a spot in Times Square that like bands play, and they did this album in addition to a lot of other stuff on stage, and I worked that show. And they never released it on DVD. They filmed it, they produced it. They filmed a documentary too. If you guys want to check it out, or if anybody else watching this wants to check it out, there is a documentary for Roadrunner United on YouTube, as well as a lot of the performances from that night, but it was never put out. They produced the DVD sleeves, the inset, because I have them, and they never released it. It's insane. I'm guessing that there was just like an issue with maybe, like you were saying, like the royalties, or just like there wasn't that much interest. I don't know how much this sold, but like that also could be a barrier as to why they're not doing this again, because such an ambitious, fresh idea, I've got no idea why they wouldn't roll with it. Scotty, what are your thoughts on Roadrunner United?
So I actually had this album when it came out. Around that time, as you said, it was Roadrunner's 20th anniversary, and I specifically remember I was starting to get into metal, and the remasters that they had that caught my eye were Roots by Sepultura, Abigail, and Them by King Diamond. So when I heard about Roadrunner United, I got really excited about it, and I still have the CD somewhere. I wasn't able to find it, but I do have it. But this is a lot of like, there's a lot of little music nerd stuff, like when you consider that 90% of Roots was written and recorded on a 4-string guitar, because Max Cavalera is not the best guitar player in the world.
No, he's not.
But Rob Flynn's putting 3-part guitar harmonies in the song that Max Cavalera is singing on. It's just like shit like that blew my mind. The Daryl Palumbo song I completely forgot was on there. I was so happy when I came across that again. And the song with Peter Steele on vocals is one of my all-time favorite like Peter Steele songs ever written.
Yeah, man, it's
so
I think in looking at the Wikipedia article and seeing who who was writing the songs, really standing out for me, Rob Flynn is just, stupid as just an unreal musician. But Matt Heafy, the songs that Matt Heafy wrote, I got to give him all the credit in the world, because goddamn, like he was just able to like manipulate so many sounds. I gained a ton of respect in reading more up about this. Real quick, I will, before we shut the book on Roadrunner United, I'm going to give another story from that night working at the Roadrunner United concert. We did a run-through, a dress rehearsal, if you will, earlier that day. And Evan from Biohazard, because the opening of the show was going to be Evan and the other guitarist, and then, like, I think Paul from Slipknot, It was Roy from Soulfly on drums, and like a bunch of other people just all playing and they were playing Punishment by Biohazard. That was going to open the show. I love Biohazard. But Evan's nowhere to be found. And they're playing the song without him, and that was dress rehearsal. And we were expecting just to not see Evan. So, 5 minutes to showtime, they're playing the pre-show video on the screen at the Nokia Theater. And who's chilling and hanging out? Evan and his wife, then Tara Patrick, who, by the way, Tara Patrick, stunning in person. Dear Lord. But my boss was like, hey, go up to Evan and make sure that he's all set for this. Here I am. Maybe, how old was I at this point? Had to have been, I was a child. But I walk up to Evan, I'm like, Mr. Seinfeld, are you ready to go out there? And he looks at me and he goes, well, I'm here, aren't I? All right. And then goes out and completely fucking destroys it on Punishment. But yeah, Evan Seinfeld.
These are all stories I expect to hear about Glenn Benton. Like
Glenn. Oh, funny. I don't want to take funny story. So the day before, we were doing all the press for this album, and all the singers who were there that day. Glenn came out in this giant, like medieval suit to do. I forgot which Deicide song he ended up doing, but. He's getting interviewed by this guy, and I'm sitting there, as a PR intern, you're just making sure everything's okay. And Glenn sits there, he's doing this interview. He's a super chill guy. He's got the upside-down cross, like, carved into his forehead, but just super chill. And the guy who was interviewing goes, well, thank you so much, man. I don't know if you remember, like, it was a little while ago, a couple of years ago, we had done an interview, and you threatened to kill me. And Glenn was like, yeah, I do that to a lot of people. I don't remember. All right. Yeah.
Amazing.
Glenn was great. Ville from him, sweetest human being in the world, just chatted around, just a sweet human being. And Corey Taylor, the three nicest people that I think I've ever met in the music industry. With that said, I can go on tangents about how much fun that shit was. But this was really dope. Again, a really interesting collection of albums. Not a single sound that sounded the same for anything. Everything was so varied, and I love it. And I also love that I hadn't heard any of these records. That's my personal take on it. But before we get out of here, here's a chance. Hype yourselves up. Where can we find you guys on social media? Let's start with our guest, DangerKid. Where can we find you on social media?
You can get at me on Instagram or Twitter at I am the DangerKid. And my merch is prowrestlingtees.com/Mainstate Posse. I hope that's correct. Mainstate Posse on Pro Wrestling Tees. So you know how the internet works. Type it in and hit enter, and it'll pop up.
Google his shit. Google his shit. Scotty, where can we find you?
SC Ceriti on Twitter and Instagram.
Johnny.
At The Concept JT on Twitter and Instagram. And if you keep your eyes peeled on IWTV on Limitless Wrestling's The Road, you might catch myself and DangerKid this coming Wednesday.
Hey.
Oh, yes.
That's a smart plug.
Stoked. And you can find me on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at King of Chaos NYC. And then, you're already here on the YouTube account. You've already clicked on. You should hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and then get the podcast. Literally, I've spent so much damn time making sure you can access this podcast on every single podcast format. Go ahead, check it out, the Year One Wrestling Podcast, and on all social media at Year1 Pod. That's it for this week's episode of Dude, Have You Heard This? We're definitely going to have DangerKid back again because dope choice this week. And we will see you guys next week. Take care.